Hello everyone, welcome back. I recently put out a community post asking for some of the biggest issues facing the Division 2 right now. Right away I had a comment from Matthew Walter, and I wanted to address this today because they are completely right in what they said. Proficiency, while some of that I'm enjoying in the game, has made the Division 2 feel even more like a material farming simulator now. And I want to go over this in today's video. Let's break this one down. I am going to be covering a vast range of topics, especially comments in response to that community post, but other topics over the coming weeks and months. So hopefully you enjoy this one. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of those videos, then make sure notifications are turned on. So here's the comment. It says, proficiency is a pain in the butt. Eventually you do get to a point, levels 13 to 15, where the countdown is no longer efficient. One 15-minute run may only land you one named item that you're missing if you're lucky, not to mention your skills and raid items. So you are left with donating mats, which is extremely expensive and not really obtainable through what your normal daily activities are. How I've been playing Division 2 recently: complete 1 to 2 Warlords of New York runs, roughly 5 hours each a day to get the watch points. Press and hold the A button roughly for another hour, 4,600 clicks or so, to trade 1 point at a time for filament. That can be spent to upgrade the proficiency on about 4 items per run. This is not really fun, and I'm not really sure what the point is. We used to grind endlessly for that perfect gear piece or exotic. Now I'm grinding for mats? Alright, well, let's break this down. Firstly, I'm not at the highest levels of proficiency yet because I've not tried to grind it out, and I've not really tried to get to the highest level possible as quickly as possible because I just don't think that's how the expertise system was intended to be interacted with. I believe I'm only proficiency level 7 at present. However, just like the Recal library, when you give the community a system that gives you more power or has more convenience to creating more power, with more investment put in, and with players wanting to eke out every little bit of extra power in the game, it's easy to see why so many people have left their soul at their door and powered their way through the expertise system. Thankfully for me right now, then, I can still run, countdown, I can still do my normal stuff and donate to the system, which will give me those rewards and increase that proficiency level. But it's very obvious that the more proficiency that you gain, the much more difficult it has become to gain those levels. Now, that's of course to be expected. However, just as Matthew said in their comment, it gets to a point where running, daily activities or running countdown activities that you really enjoy becomes pointless if you're looking to increase your expertise level. Instead, the game is going to force you to either create new characters and get materials and stuff that way, or to material farm, which has to be the most boring way to increase your power. Now, that's not the only way. You could use all of the weapons and all of the gear and skills that you haven't used to get those levels. But there's a reason why you haven't used those items before. You don't want to. So either way, it kind of feels like you're being asked to either use items that you don't want to or farm materials, both of which are, in my opinion, boring. And the thing is, I said before, the system was not intended to be grinded. That's my opinion. I believe that's probably Massive's intention as well, though I don't know that for sure. But if you want to achieve the highest expertise level, you have to interact with it. You really have to interact with it. It's just not going to be possible to reach the top level of expertise if this system is intended to be run in the background. As there's no scenario where players are going to use builds and gear and weapons and skills that they don't want to unless it's to increase their levels. So yeah, there you go. It seems to me as though possibly it's meant to be running in the background, but actually if you want to get to the top level, you really have to invest time into it. The other thing I briefly wanted to mention was targeted loot. This is only really viable up to a certain point with the expertise level, and I refer back to what I've said before about material farming simulator, which is what happens once you get to the higher levels of the expertise system. The other great point about the comment from Matthew was about how we used to grind endlessly for the perfect items, and now that's gone. Now, this isn't a solution by any means, and I want to stress that before I proceed with what I'm about to say. With all the systems we have in the game, and then adding the expertise system on top, now it's about finding an item that only needs to be recalibrated once, and then it's good to go basically. It doesn't matter the quality at that point. I'm not sure if I'm alone in this, but don't you miss having to grind for days, weeks, sometimes months for the perfect item? I know that I do. One of the fondest memories of playing this franchise was actually in Division 1, when after what must have been, I don't know, a year or more, I finally got Barrett's Bulletproof Vest. I must have run Lexington Event Center more than 1,000 times to get that item. And yeah, sure, at the time I did get frustrated, but when it finally dropped, the relief and the sheer excitement was definitely worth it. Now ask anyone who played the Division, and I reckon most memories will be from either getting the perfect rolled item or getting an item to drop they've been chasing for so long, or possibly the Dark Zone experience. Now with all of these systems in the Division 2, it's just not really a thing anymore. I'd say the raid exotics can have that same feeling for some people. Fortunately, I got the Eagle Bearer on my first run, but I know people who still don't have it, and after many hours of trying. This is why I've always been against exclusive exotics being added to the general loot pool, and also I'd be against any kind of recalibration for exotics as well, if that's a feature the devs are considering. As I said, this isn't me saying that we need to go back to that. It's just a thought. And just to continue on with that point, we've gone from spending many hours farming for a specific item to instead spending many hours either getting materials or just getting an item close to it and then using the in-game systems to get the max roll. Now, I'm not advocating for a return to pure RNG because I don't think that's the answer. I know how much people were frustrated with that kind of system, including me at times, but I do feel as though the gear grind and power gained has become more about farming for materials or donating items rather than actually getting the items to drop, which is something I personally miss. I remember the first exotic that ever dropped for me was the Midas. It was in the Dark Zone. This is when the Midas was unbelievably strong back in the Division 1. It was in the early days. And when that dropped, it was amazing. It's kind of the same feeling you get from back in Destiny days where you used to get the Gallahorn, and when that used to drop, it was like, oh my god, and people would, you go on YouTube, you'll see videos of people just going crazy when they get that drop. Well, that doesn't exist in this game really anymore, except for maybe some of the raid items, but it still doesn't really feel the same. Now, I realised the expertise system was created as an alternative to a level increase. Some of the majority of people are against, not me. So I get it, and it's better than having nothing to work towards, I guess. I just wish there was a better way to reach max power without farming exotics just to destroy them and use their currency to actually get that power, or just run into a control point and opening boxes to pick up materials, or running through countdown and just dismantling everything at the end just to get materials to get that power. To me, it is a material farming simulator, and I just don't like that. Like I said, I don't have an answer to this. I don't know what the devs could do to fix this. I just wish there was a compromise between how it used to be and how it works now. I just wish there was a way to get that feeling back when that god rolled mod would drop. Do you remember back in the Division 1 where you would want to get, the perfect mod, and you'd have to wait for ages and then it would finally drop in that relief? Well, that doesn't exist, and I wish there was a way that we could have something like that back in this game. It doesn't exist anymore, and I miss it. But thanks very much for watching, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below, and if you have any other topics that you want me to talk about, send me a DM on Twitter @EpicSlayers, or leave a comment down below. Until the next one, Epic out.